Okay, so this is the 8th video for creating the Jagdpanther tank destroyer. And gonna want to start out, if you haven't done this already, boring these rear holes. So one thing you want to make sure of is that if they are above sort of level or slightly below this, you're going to want to move them down a little bit. Just so, or else it's going to be really, really difficult to install the track. So keep that in mind, that you may want to move where these holes are bored down slightly. But as long as you're able to sort of fit a bit in there fairly straight, you should be able to install the track and build everything as is. And it should be pretty rare that those are down that low. So once you've got those holes bored out, you want to use a skewer to sort of expand them. And I would put all pressure coming this direction and make it gentle pressure. That way you don't pop anything loose. Once you've got those expanded, expand them again with a slightly larger skewer if you have one. Just kind of doing this gradually so as not to pop anything out of place. And then finally, take a matchstick, like a fireplace matchstick. And, oh, this one. Here we go. Expand them one more time so that they are really quite large, because it is the size of a fireplace matchstick that we're going to use as a axle, because it holds the 12 ring caps in place the best because of its size. So these, I believe, are 37 millimeters long. Yes. The rear axle should be around 37 millimeters long, and may be a bit of a challenge to get it inserted. One thing you're going to want to do is continue to make sure these are big enough, because once the ends here are flat, it's really hard to kind of fit them through the opposite side without pushing all kinds of material out with them. So there we go. You can see how it kind of worked out. And just kind of try to center it with your eyes so there's an even amount coming out of either side. And then use some glue. Where's the paintbrush? There we go. Oh, might want to, at this point, take a scraper blade and just cut two 12 ring caps off of their ring. And you're actually going to want to do a nice job removing all the flashing, because these will be semi-visible in the final model. Partially visible, rather. So get those ready, and then we can use a little bit of glue. And basically what you're going to want to do is kind of put it around the base of the piece of wood on either side. And then slide it around back and forth just a little bit until you get some glue sticking it in place where it'll glue. And then put some either straight glue or 4-to-1 glue inside of each of these caps. And pop those into place on the axle. And now we're going to do, and you want to make sure that if they can be pushed down at all, you want them to have been pushed down as much as possible just to make it easier to get the track in place at the end. Now we're going to do a bit of prep for the next step. We're going to want to take some hole punch discs, 7mm hole punch discs. This is just cardboard cereal box. And you want to glue one to the center of this symbol, which looks like it should have been drilled out, but actually don't drill it out. Just pop one of those into the center there. And then the center of each of these, which will actually end up pushing the 7mm hole punch disc out over the edge. You want to attach one of those to each of the centers on both sides. And I do recommend actually putting the glossy side out, because that will be covered, but this side will actually be needing to be painted, and the glossy side of cardboard holds paint poorly. So about half of each of these discs should be pushing out over the edge. And do that for both sides. Like so. And now, as a final prep, I've got a bunch of 11mm buttons, and as a practice, I just sand them all down, and they've also been washed in detergent. I've also got these snowflakes, and I hope to eventually make these available at our store on the website, but for now, just use whatever kind of snowflakes that you can find. Now, these ones are made of plastic, so I've sanded them down as well. And I'm just going to attach them to these buttons, and we will install them on the next step. And these will be like the front drive wheels. Now, the easiest way to install these particular ones is from the back. You can kind of see how much of the snowflake bits push out over the edge, and I'll trim this before installing it on the next time. And so make 2 of those, and that's the front drive wheels. Now, if you can't find snowflake confetti or anything like that, you can also use, you just want it to look a little bit differently and gear-like if possible. But you could even put like a sequin on there just to make it a little bit different looking from the rest of the suspension wheels. Because they're all going to be 11mm buttons. But this front wheels look a little bit different. The other thing you want to make sure is that when you've got your 11mm buttons, like I get all of mine in one single package, and so they're all like the same width. You want to really make sure that you have the same width on all your buttons that you're going to use for the next step. So get to here, and then we will continue with the suspension next video. Thanks for watching. See you soon.